It was deep into the night when the child's cries echoed through the village. But these were not the cries of a normal baby. They were the first sign that something evil had been born. I still remember that night. Our village, Otamiri, had always been quiet, a place where the earth was rich and the people lived in harmony with the spirits. But when Nneka gave birth to her son, everything changed. Nneka had always been a gentle woman, but during her pregnancy, something shifted. Her belly swelled larger than any we had ever seen, and her eyes grew empty and distant, as if she were staring into another world. The older women whispered among themselves, saying the child in her womb was cursed. When the night of the birth came, the village was restless. The sky was dark, with not a single star to offer light. I was outside Nneka's hut, waiting with the others, and we could hear her moaning in pain. Inside, the midwives worked, but the look on their faces when they stepped out told us everything. They were afraid. And then we heard it, the cry of the newborn. But it wasn't just a cry. It sounded like a wail of anger, as if the child had come into this world full of hatred. The women hurried out, their faces pale and hands shaking. One of them, Mama Adaobi, who had delivered many babies in her time, clutched a small charm to her chest. "This is no child," she whispered. "He is not of this world." Before we could react, Nneka stepped out of the hut, holding the baby in her arms. Her face was calm, but her eyes, they were hollow, as though she had lost herself. The child, wrapped tightly in a cloth stained with blood, looked like any other baby, until you saw his eyes, black as night with no light in them. It felt like they were watching us, drawing us into something dark. They named him Azzzelu, after an old, forgotten spirit, one known to bring chaos and ruin. From that night on, nothing in Otamiri was the same. The morning after Azzelu's birth, the sky turned blood red, and that's when we knew his presence was a curse on the village. When we woke the next morning, the sky was the color of blood. The elders gathered in the village square, talking in low voices about bad omens and ancient stories of destruction. The sun, which usually brought warmth and life, seemed to hide behind the red sky. Animals began acting strangely. The goats refused to leave their pens, the chickens stopped laying eggs, and even the birds had disappeared. Everyone knew that something was wrong, and they whispered that it was because of the child, because of Azzzelu. Nneka was the only one who seemed unaffected. She cared for her baby as if he were normal, but the rest of the village avoided them. The elders wanted to keep the child away from the other children, but Nneka refused. She said he was just a boy, but we all knew better. There was something dark about him. That night, the ground shook. At first it was gentle, like a rumble, but soon it became violent, making our huts tremble. We all rushed outside in fear, only to find a long crack running through the village, leading straight to Nneka's hut. From the crack, a foul smell rose, like something rotting deep within the earth. And then we heard it, a laugh, faint but clear, coming from inside Nneka's hut. Azzzelu was laughing. The villagers tried to get rid of Azzzelu, but no matter what they did, the curse seemed to grow stronger. The day after the earthquake, the village elders made a decision. They said that Azzzelu had to be removed from the village if we wanted to survive. The crops were dying, the animals were dead, and sickness had spread among the people. It was clear that this curse was linked to the child. That night, a group of men, including my father, went to Nneka's hut. They found her asleep, with Azzzelu lying beside her, his black eyes open and staring at them. They didn't want to harm Nneka, but they had to take the child. They wrapped him in blankets and carried him into the forest, far from the village. As they walked, the air around them grew colder, and the trees seemed to press in on them. The men kept moving, hoping that by leaving the child in the forest, the curse would be broken. But as they reached the heart of the forest, a voice, deep and terrifying, echoed around them. "You cannot escape me." Azzzelu was no longer a helpless baby. His form shifted in the darkness, growing taller, his eyes glowing red. The men screamed, running back toward the village, but none of them returned. The forest swallowed them whole. By morning, Azzzelu was back in the village, sitting in front of Nneka's hut. The curse had only just begun. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Press the notification button for more videos.